Welcome back to Andersen Acres, and we are inside today, and I'm sure you're wondering what this is. Okay, so someone had been asking me, how on earth do you build pens for rabbits? Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know that typically I keep my rabbits outside, on the ground, or inside, running around like bonkers, and I don't do a lot of pens. But sometimes you do need something. So I'm going to show you how I build this, and you'll see the finished result. This is a 4-tier cage for rabbits. It's not super expensive to make. You just need about 10 or 11 2x2s. That's what these are. Okay, these are 2x2s. So you don't need 2x4s or anything like that. You need 2x2s. You need a bunch of screws long enough to go through one 2x2 into the other 2x2. Okay, you need about 40 screws of those. You'll need one sheet of 1/2-inch plywood, one 4x8 sheet, 1/2-inch plywood. Use a decent plywood. You don't want to get like OSB or anything. You want a real plywood, nice and sturdy. And then you just need some shorter screws to screw the plywood into the 2x2s. Okay? Then I'll show you some other products you're going to need. But for now, we're just going to build the frame, and then I'll show you the rest of it. So, how did I build this frame? Okay, so these side posts here are 2x2s, like I said, and they're 6 feet tall, okay? 6 feet tall, okay? So you need 4 of those. These side pieces are exactly 2 feet long, and you'll notice you need 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 per side, because we have this on the other side. These cross ones are 33 inches long, and there are again 10 of them because there's 5 per side and there's 2 sides. So you need from your 2x2s 4 6-foot long pieces, 10 2-foot long pieces, and 10 33-inch pieces, because we're going to make 4 tiers that are 2x3 foot living space for a rabbit. Now, I use this kind of setup for boys that we need to separate, or mamas who have had babies, or when I'm sorting babies into boys and girls, selling versus keeping. So this is not something that I would use as a permanent house, but you could. But I don't, and I am not doing wire floors. Someone's going to ask. I'm not doing wire floors, but I will talk about how you could convert this into wire floor. So if you are going to do wire floors, you don't need the plywood, okay? But I'm not doing wire floors, I'm doing solid floors. So you take your wood and you build your frame just as you see here. So you build these side, almost ladder-like frames first with your 6-foot pieces and your 2-foot pieces. And you want to space them out so that they're roughly equal. Now, my frame is actually upside down right now. The top is on the bottom. And there's a reason for that, and I'll show you why. After, in a little bit, I'll show you why. So mine's upside down right now, but you want your top one to be bigger than your bottom one. So what I did, I put these 2-foot pieces at the top and the bottom, even though this is technically the top, don't worry about that. And then from the bottom, so this is where I measured from the bottom, I then measured 17 inches from right in this corner to the middle of this guy. So you see the notches where we marked and lined them up. Then I measured 17 inches from that notch to another notch, and 17 inches again from this notch to this notch. So then you mark the center of these 3 pieces, these 3 2-foot pieces, line them up, screw them in. Use good heavy-duty construction screws. Okay, once you've done that, you now repeat that with the other side. Okay, so we have this side. So we have these 2 ladder sides. Now we need to connect these 2 ladder sides with these 33-inch pieces. And the way I did it, because there is a screw going through here into here, I didn't want to hit these. So I just used a scrap piece of 2x2 to space this out here so that we have a 2x2 spacing from the edge of this, from this edge here to here, just so that we had a little bit of space so we didn't try and screw through an area where there already was a screw. So you put your 33-inch pieces just like this, as shown. Okay, and you do that at every level. Make sure they're nice and lined up so that your transition here is nice and smooth, because your plywood's going to sit on here. Well, technically, it's going to sit on here because we're upside down right now. So we just want this nice and smooth. Now, we are going to sand this a little bit later, but for right now, we just want to make sure these are lined up. So pass your hand over these. You shouldn't feel a bump, okay? Or it shouldn't be a bump you can't sand off. So you need to have these roughly lined up, okay? Remember, a 2x2 is actually only 1.5 inches wide. So this is not 2 inches wide. This is 1.5 inches. And that's important because when we cut these pieces, they were 33 inches because this guy is 1.5 inches and this guy is 1.5 inches. So we want a 3-foot piece that goes from this part all the way over to this part. So because of that, this has to be cut at 33 inches, not 36, even though the total width of this is 36 inches. The total depth of this is 2 feet plus 3 inches because of these. These are not, these side pieces are actually outside the cage. Okay, the cage part is going to go here just so that there's not wood parts for them to chew on all the time. So that is what you do. You're just going to build your frame. All right. Then we will come back in just a minute and I'll show you the next step. All right. Now we have some plywood. Over here, we have 4 2-foot by 3-foot pieces. And then obviously we've already put the 5th piece on. So from your 1 piece of plywood, you can get 5 different pieces that are 2 feet by 3 feet. You have to get a little creative, but it can be done. So what you do is you take one of these pieces and you put them exactly here. Now remember, this is upside down right now. That's the way you want it. You want to put it upside down. So the top, the biggest gap, remember we measured 17 inches, 17 inches, 17 inches, which gives you a bigger gap. You want that bigger gap on the top, which right now is on the bottom because it's upside down. So put one of your 2 feet by 3 foot plywood pieces right here and then screw it into the 2x2s below. So screws go along the edge. And then you notice these aren't along the edge, and that's because the 2x2 here is not at the edge. So it's a little bit in. So screw it down just like that. Now we're going to flip it over and install the other 4 pieces of plywood. All right, well, there go the dogs. All right, so we have attached our plywood. So you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4. The very top one is upside down. That's why we had the entire thing upside down to start, and we put this piece of plywood on first. Okay, so we put this one on first, so it's upside down, because this is going to be our top cage. Okay, this is going to be our top area, then 2, 3, 4. So now the next step is to take it outside. We're going to take it outside, we are going to give it a quick sand, and then I am going to paint it. So we will take a look at it as it progresses, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, so we have painted it, and we actually added a couple of braces, one there and one down at the bottom, just because, and they're not painted because it doesn't matter, you're not going to see them. So the next step is to put some wheels on. So I got these pretty good wheels. I'll put a link in the video description to these wheels if you want to get similar ones. These are good quality, heavy-duty wheels, which is what you want. You want good wheels that spin, and you do want to get wheels that lock. Okay, so you want all 4 wheels to have a lock because it's just easier, and we're putting wheels on it to make it easier to move and to just make sure that we can clean under it, because not being able to move things sucks. So we're going to stick the wheels on the bottom, and I will come back and show you the next step. All right, the wheels are officially on, which gets it up off the ground. Wheels all have locks so that it won't roll when we don't want it to. Now we have to turn it into cages. Okay, so what I'm doing, now you can take hardwood cloth and just staple it on, but what I'm doing is I'm using these panels. We've all seen these, many of us have used them, and the kit I bought came with these solid panels and the wire panels, and I'm using both because I'm doing a solid barrier, you can see up here, solid barrier on two sides, wire barrier on two sides. So if you're going to do it this way, make liberal use of your zip ties, okay? Make sure you have secured this so it doesn't pop off the edge and have your rabbit fall out. And you can do that simply by stapling the zip tie, folding the zip tie back over and stapling it again. Okay, so just staple that zip tie down. And then you're going to put a zip tie here and do the same thing, just so it doesn't pop off. If you're on a side where you're using just a panel for a cage door, okay, because it is possible that they'll push this out and then there's a little gap. Okay, so secure that nice and tight. Now for doors, you have a choice. You can use the doors that come with the kit, okay, or you can just make a door out of a panel. Now I've done that by just zip tying one side. Okay, so nice tight zip ties on one side, and on this other side I am just using these little clips, which are really easy to get. You just get them on Amazon and they just hold the cage door shut and you're fine. Okay, so I'm just using those. I'm going to use this cage door on the lower levels, but on the top levels I am making sure that they don't have anything they can open up because I don't want anyone falling out. So you can also use hardware cloth, and to do that you would simply staple your hardware cloth all the way down, probably in one continuous piece on three sides, and on the fourth side you would just make a door. Okay, so you can make a door this way or any other way you choose. It doesn't matter. Okay, however you like. So you'll notice I didn't paint the entire thing. I am going to put a floor on for them. So I'm going to use that sticky back vinyl. I just haven't picked a pattern. So they're going to sit on the wood floor until I pick a pattern. And the wood floor is just fine. If you were going to do wire floors, you could put wire over this and then underneath do brackets for a tray to slide underneath so that you would have a pull-out tray. I don't do wire floors. I keep my rabbits on solid flooring with nice bedding. So we will come back when I have finished putting all the cage pieces on. And once you're all done, you end up with something like this. So we have used the door pieces that came with the wire for two of them. And then we made up a door here. And I just put Cap up here to show you. He obviously still needs a floor and he needs his toys and stuff like that in order to be comfortable, and his bedding. Cap is nothing without his bedding. So we do have a few little things to do to make him comfortable. And hi, buddy. I know, you're a good boy. And he's being very good for the camera. He always is. And so we are going to let Capricorn hang out up there for a little while. He's not going to stay up there. He's going to be, he's a house bunny. He runs around the house like crazy. But this just gives you an idea. You can use this for rabbits. You can use this for chicks. You can use this for pretty much anything that's small. So these are 2x3 pens. You need something that is small to fit in here. Okay, because obviously you're not going to keep larger animals in this. It's not big enough. But this gives you the general idea for something you can make yourself. It's relatively inexpensive, and instead of these panels, you could just use hardware cloth if you want. But I like the versatility of being able to take them off and doing something different, so I went with the paneling. But of course, you should absolutely use hardware cloth if that is what you want. It would be a little bit cheaper than this. I will provide links to all the materials I used, not the wood, that came from the local hardware store, but the paneling and the other things that I used. We are going to provide links, the wheels and stuff, provide links in the video description so you can get these things and make this if you want. You could do a better paint job than I did. I didn't really do much of a paint job at all, but you could do a better paint job than I did. You can add flooring, which I am going to do. I just haven't picked it out yet. I'm not sure which flooring I want. But other than that, it is finished. and it is ready to house critters. Remember not to lock rabbits in this 24/7. They need exercise, they need time to stretch their legs, and they need time with you because rabbits are very social creatures. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.